Well, we, from last year, as I said, we have been grappling with the intransigence of the IG, particularly. They wanted to abrogate the agreement. They wanted the agreement abrogated so that they can hold a sham elections. We did not allow that because we know the implication of holding a sham elections in the Republic of South Sudan. We don't want the country to relapse to violence, chaos. We know elections are controversial exercises. You can see the one in Mozambique, what happened, and so on. So we do not want violence. And moreover, the peace agreement has answered some of the questions, fundamental questions in the country regarding the root causes of conflict. So we do not want anyone to just sweep it under the rug. We do not want that. That was the reason for us standing against anybody who would want to hold elections when the situation is not really right. Now, we have a new extension which commences 22nd of February. The 2 years will commence 22nd February. We were expected to use the allowance of time since September. You know, the extension was done in September. We were expected to use the allowance of time of the 5 months, September up to February 22nd, to organize the article to set the framework for the successful implementation of the agreement during the 2-year extension. And this framework included the resources that is needed for the implementation, the confidence building and the political will that is needed for the implementation, and work on the enabling laws if there are any, or other plans of the mechanisms, like, and also institutions like the National Election Commission and National Constitutional Review Commission, the UN Defense Board, JTSC, and so on, those ones in charge with security arrangements. The 6 months was to organize the institutions of government and mechanisms of the agreement in order to achieve the next extension. Now we are in February 3rd. We are going to commence the next extension, where we believe that this is the last. And from our perspective, as a party, this must be the last extension. We cannot take our country round and round, our citizens round and round. So, all parties and stakeholders must do everything possible to ensure that this extension succeeds. Because we did not succeed, we are not buying into any further extension. We will be forced to make critical decisions later, whether the agreement is implemented or not implemented. We will be forced to make very critical decisions about elections and the future of the Republic of South Sudan. We are very serious about the implementation. We want to achieve the security arrangements. Phase 2. First of all, phase 1, deployment and the middle echelon, their deployments, their conditions, assignments must be done. We will go for phase 2. The other day, the presidency met and they have resolved on the expeditious implementation of security arrangements, especially the activation of phase 2. That one is a welcome development that we have now. We want these orders to be translated into concrete actions where budget funds must be allocated and prudently used. And our forces who are in the cantonments, who are in the assembly areas, must be committed to the unification and also deployment of forces. We have some challenges now, especially with the new CDF. The new CDF, who is called General Paul Nang, provoke a situation in Western Equatoria and Western Barakazan. By moving forces contrary to the provision of the cessation of hostilities agreement, contrary to the provision of Chapter 2 of the agreement, move forces from one location to another to attack the forces of the SPLA-IO in the cantonments and assembly areas, leading to mass displacement of civilians and destructions of their livelihood. In Kubribo, they announced that they were clearing roadblocks. No, nothing like that. It was a deliberate move and coordinated. If there was anything such as roadblocks, it would be known, and they would also coordinate with the forces that were on the ground or manning it. Okay. If it was in this case the IO, his deputy, the deputy CDF is from IO. Just a matter of discussing it at build-farm level, rather than moving forces to go and attack with the full logistics. And the forces moved were not unified either. They just moved the forces and unleashed violence on the other forces. So these are the challenges that we are now recording even before the phase 2 and also the next extension started. Meanwhile, we anticipate that the National Constitutional Review Commission will proceed with its work. Already it's reconstituted, the laws are in place, and some structures have already been there. They also made some public engagement and so on. What is left is public consultation. They were given some resources last year, which helped them to do some activities and so on. They are now set for the Constitution. Those who are saying, there is no need for permanent Constitution. No. These are ill, bent, bad-intentioned people who don't wish this country well. Either if they are foreigners, that means they have taken side, because it is known that not all the parties want the permanent constitution. This is the reason for the sabotage of that process and the delays. Some parties are not happy with the permanent constitution because of federalism question. which is embedded in that process, the system of government. So if these are foreigners who are calling for no constitution to be there, it means they have taken sides in the conflict. So they should desist from that. If these are South Sudanese, then these are part of the saboteurs of the agreement, who want to influence public opinion and say no permanent constitution. No, it's a whole chapter, and it's coming to resolve governance crisis, power relations, citizenship, human rights questions, our boundaries with our neighbors, our internal boundaries, where there are chaos now. There was 21 states, there was 28 states, there was 32 states, others were saying 39 states. All these outstanding questions are not resolved. We will resolve them in the permanent constitution making process. So that is the situation. On the implementation, yes, we are still optimistic. We are still within the range. 2 years, we have to start is on the 22nd of February, 2 years. So it is too early for us to talk of we are failing or we will not succeed. No, we are very optimistic. The spirit of the extension is still very fresh and we are energized about it. The resource extraction in Equatoria and the presence of border conflicts and so on is a reality. We have issues with our neighbors, particularly Uganda and Kenya. We have serious issues. We have noted that they have expansionist tendencies, expansionist policies. I know there are issues in Congo. Some of them were involved. Even Uganda had issues with Kenya over Migingo Highland. These are expansionist policies that drive them into conflict with their neighbors. In Congo, the same thing. Now, they are doing the same in South Sudan. The entire boundary, right from the western part of the country, the southwestern part, bordering Congo, up to Kenya, is disturbed. The Sudan got independence in 1956, January 1st. Uganda was not born. Uganda was still in the womb. 1962, Uganda got independence. They found Sudan was already there. From 1962 up to 2011, they did not raise any question of border issues with Sudan. In fact, they respected the borders. No day there was question of borders issues. Kenya, the only issue that was between us and Kenya was the Lemi Triangle. In Lemi Triangle, we have all the historical records and documents to that effect. Okay. If the two countries are to sit down, they will resolve it even within hours. It will not take time. Because there are borders, there are references, and so on. The map of Sudan of 1956 is the one that we use. Even today, South Sudan is using that map as a reference. Our southern borders with Kenya and Uganda, they are on that basis of the map. The map of 1962 also, Uganda should stick to it. Because African Union in 1963-64 issued a statement that wherever the independent got you, remain there. Don't move an inch. They are violating that doctrine of the African Union. Uganda now is in the forests, marking stones, big trees, trying to influence maps, dropping pegs and beacons, influencing. We are even told they went as far as Google Map, trying to influence where the GPS will read. They're influencing that. I don't know how, but that is the situation. Now, there have been a lot of activities, skirmishes along our borders with them, exchange of fire, capturing even some of our personnel, harassing our citizens, and so on. All these are in place. We are trying to use diplomatic channel to resolve this situation. We have a tripartite committee comprising Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan. That is, I think, under the auspices of IGAD and African Union. They are trying to discuss and resolve this matter. But we see violations from them. They don't want to commit to a clear, peaceful procedure where this conflict can be resolved, because they are always encroaching and encroaching, declaring new settlements. They have even gone as far as transporting people from one part of their country and powering them along our borders, inside our territories. This is some of the things that we have recorded in Kajokeji, in Magwi County, in Ikotos County, in Kidepo, Budi County, and all these areas. The animals, the wildlife, like Kidepo wildlife conservation, it is straddling between our two countries. Seasonal migration of animals are always occasional along the borders. You find when animals migrate to the side of Uganda, they will be sprayed so that it becomes dead. But these are natural resources who are mobile. Elephants move, you will not stop them. Whether you put wire fence and so on, they will push them down and move to where they used to go. They will cross to the side of Sudan, South Sudan, and again they will go to the other side. I wish they would learn from Kenya that some of these mobile seasonal migration, they are transboundaries, like that one of Masai Mara in Kenya, between Kenya and Tanzania. This is the situation that we envisage that it will be between us and Uganda. So there be cordial understanding between the two countries. So the question of resource extraction, yeah, that one is with the specific ministries, exploration going on of minerals and so on. Ministry of Mining, petroleum also. Of course, petroleum is already done. We have blocks, others are active, others are not yet active. The resumption, yes, it has been declared by the Minister of Petroleum. They are at the advanced stage of now pumping the oil. I was briefed recently that they are still flushing. They are finalizing with the flushing the pipelines so that they are clear and they are without, then they will begin pumping the oil. This will help the budget. It will help the budget. South Sudan has been running course an oil economy budget. When Dublin was affected, it affected also its budget. So once this resumption takes place, we hope the budget will be boosted. We are calling upon partners and the international community to reconsider the sanctions, especially sanctions which are collective, which does not discriminate between a civilian, a poor common man, unborn child, or a sick person in the hospital, where we'll get resources from, where we'll get medication from, and so on. This will dissect these sanctions. This will reconsider that the sanctions should not affect the population. If they can target individuals and they have well-founded reasons to do so, that is up to them. But sanction that is affecting civilian population, no. Nobody will support that. The civilian population will not support it. And we, their leaders, who are representing them, will also not support it. Now we have cholera outbreak. We need resources. We cannot rely on humanitarian aid. We need the government to take charge of providing services. So this, I feel, the international community must discuss with the leadership of Antigua to ensure that what goes to service the civil population should not be interrupted. But what is profiting peace spoilers, those who don't want to implement the agreement, violators and so on, that one, they can set conditions on it. This is what I can add to that effect. The war in Sudan, yes, has unbearable consequences. The humanitarian situation has been aggravated. We have now more refugees influx into our country, though we don't see the effective and adequate response by the international community. I think they are focusing in Chad and other countries. They are focusing in other countries. They should also focus because South Sudan has refugees who are documented, others are not documented. Others have taken a spontaneous settlement, either around Juba or in other part of the country. Others, of course, who managed to cross the border in Reng and so on, were received by IOM and the UNSC, and they were taken to refugee camps. Also in western Barakazal, in Warab, and so on. We want full focus of the international community, especially those agencies supporting refugees, to actually come and take care of their mandate in the country. Yes, these are our brothers and sisters who are in one country. We can do what we can with the limited resources, but we want our partners and the world to come and support. So basically, this is what I can say. Thank you so much.